Hello and welcome to TopFormz. So when we go into the TopFormz app, today we're going to be having a look at the tax section. What you'll notice is that there are three different tabs: an income and expense summary, a list of income, and a list of expenses. So when you manage your family daycare business on the go, think about when you're off to Coles or to Maya to go and buy something, and what you're going to do is you're going to raise an expense. So here's my receipt from Maya, and I'm just going to add it quickly while I'm shopping. So there you go. Now this isn't really a family daycare expense, but I'm just using this as an example. What you'll notice is that there's no supplier in here. When you start to use the app more, those actual suppliers will be there on a more regular basis. So I'm just going to add it quickly, and I'm going to go and type in Maya, and what my default category is in this case, I'm going to have it as protective clothing because it's shoes, and I'm going to say that it's 100% deductible as a business expense. And I'm just going to say that, so every single time that Maya is going to come up, it's going to come up with that as a default category, but I can change it at a later stage. What I then want to do is add in the value of that expense, so 3296.95, and if there's any GST on it, I need to add that in as well. So if I just have a look at that, there's a GST value of 29.72, and after I've done that, I can save it. So what will happen is that this expense will then be added to your list of expenses, and you'll see them right over there. I can also filter on these expenses if I just want to see what was raised by month in the previous month or for the tax year. So I'm just going to choose this month, and what you'll see is that both expenses are going to come up because both of them were raised in the month of January. But if something else was raised earlier on, it wouldn't actually come up in this month. Then what I want to have a look at is my income and expense summary, because I want to just keep track of how much GST I'm actually going to be getting back from the ATO, or how much tax I'm actually going to have to pay. So first of all, let's go and add in any income that I have actually received from my family daycare scheme for the fortnight. So, and I'm just going to take this amount from my payment advice from the family daycare scheme, because in most cases you're actually probably using, Harmony or HubWorks or something like that. So you don't need to enter all this information in individually because it's tracked by a parent through Harmony or HubWorks. But we do want to keep a track of our tax paying position, and the best way to do it is to go to your payment advice. I don't have a payer in here at the moment because I haven't entered anything. So I'm just going to be adding my family daycare scheme. And I'm not really going to give it a branded name. I'm just going to call it FDC scheme. But if you have a scheme that you actually belong to, then you add in the name of your scheme. So I'll save that. And then I'm going to choose fee income as my category. Sometimes it could be a different category, like if you're selling something to someone else, it could actually be the sale of your family daycare resources or something like that, and that's going to be something different. And that's why we have the different income categories. So let's say for that fortnight, I'm going to have received $2,000. There's no GST on it. It's 100% part of my business, and therefore it's going to be taxable. If I want to include an image of my payment advice, I can, and you can take a photo or choose a photo, and then you can save it after that. And what you will notice is it's very similar to the list of expenses where you can filter on this month, last month, or the 2019 tax year. Now I want to get a picture of what my situation is from a tax perspective. So in order to do that, I go to the income and expense summary. And what you'll notice is there's my income of $2,000 so far. There's no GST on that because it's family daycare fee income. My expenses so far is $522 with $55 of GST. Okay, and when you look at the table, it's 54.72 of the GST. It's just rounded above. What you'll also notice is that if you had any expenses which were entered for the 30th of June 2018 tax year, it will be shown in the grid next to it, and you can just basically compare that information. Then you'll see that there is a grid of expenses in a graph format. This basically just shows you where your money has been spent, what is the portion that is basically related to the business in the form of value as an expense, and then the actual GST portion. If the grid gets a bit small, what you can do is just click on it and you'll notice that it's larger. If you really want to see what the actual amount is of that, you can just click on blue to see what the value of your business expense is. And there you'll see it's $225 for equipment. If you want to have a look at what the value is of the business GST, you can basically do the same thing, and that's essentially going to give you what the value of the GST is. And sometimes it's just a little bit temperamental. But it does actually show you what the value of the GST is. There we go. Okay. So we close that. Then it will also give you a summary by quarter of what the GST is on your expenses. So you'll notice for quarter 1 and quarter 2, I didn't really have anything because I didn't enter any expenses for those quarters. But I do have GST on the expenses that I entered in quarter 3, and that's going to show you what the GST is. So where this is great is that it actually summarizes the information that is going to be required for your tax return. Now, this information is purely based on your inputs, and therefore there is no assurances, on what is basically reported in this table, because it's totally dependent on the information that you guys are actually entering into the system. What it will also give you at the bottom is a link to the ATO tax tables, because if you go back to this table, it's going to show you what your taxable income is. In this case, it's $1,477.77. Now, that is going to lie within the tax-free threshold of $18,200 for the year. If, however, you are going to have a taxable income in excess of $18,200, you're probably going to be in a tax-paying situation, and you want to know about this up front. The way that you can calculate it is if you click on this link to the ATO tax tables, it's going to give you a grid, and that grid will show you how much tax you are likely to pay on that income, and you can basically calculate it over a period of time and start to cater for that tax that is actually going to be payable. If you've got any questions, please send me an email.